Hello there, everybody. I hope you've all had a wonderful back to work week. Well, you may have forgotten, but yeah, the TikTok ban that everybody was all aflutter about earlier this year, well, it seems like it's finally coming due. Or is it? On Friday last week, a federal appeals court in Washington, D.C. upheld the law that was passed by Congress and signed by President Biden back in the spring. The court cited the same thing that everybody seems to cite, which is the national security concern, and they rejected the argument made by ByteDance, that's TikTok's parent company, that the ban violates the constitutional right to freedom of speech. So by the recent articles that you've seen, you might think that, well, that the date of January 19th is the deadline. You'd think that we basically have less than a month to go before TikTok signs off for good, but not so fast. Let's talk about what's really happening here, what probably will happen before we lose our dance videos, dog memes, and, general ridiculousness of TikTok, and one of the most powerful new marketing and e-commerce platforms of the last decade. Let's get the straight dope here on the tick, tick, tick of the TikTok clock. Let's tick a moment, if you will, and, talk about it. This is a few minutes of what's new in marketing that might help you lead your business's strategy. Let's roll. Hello everybody, Robert Rose here with What's New in Marketing. It is about what's new in marketing, but as you know, it's most importantly something important in marketing that we think may help you become a better leader. And if we can help you or your team with content marketing services, and that includes custom training, consultation, or ongoing implementation of your content marketing approach, get on over to contentmarketinginstitute.com, fill out that form, and let's have a talk about it. So TikTok and the TikTok ban, remember that? Yeah, it's back now because the clock is running out on the company. So the latest is that an appeals court has upheld the law that says TikTok must divest itself. The scoop is that Judge Douglas Ginsburg laid down the law in a ruling on the controversial TikTok ban, reminding us all why the First Amendment, well, it's kind of a big deal. He wrote, and I quote, "The First Amendment exists to protect free speech in the United States. Here, the government acted solely to protect that freedom from a foreign adversary nation and to limit that adversary's ability to gather data on people in the United States." End quote. Translation, it's complicated and we feel pretty good about it. Now, TikTok's lawyers, of course, clap back, saying that in a statement of their own that basically they'll, quote, "silence the voices of over 170 million Americans here in the U.S. and around the world on January 19th, 2025. And let's be real. I mean, how are we going to survive without the endless cat videos and questionable life hacks? So both sides are throwing around that First Amendment issue a lot. But that issue aside, TikTok has grown really into a powerhouse of marketing, advertising, and e-commerce. We've talked on this series many times about how both B2C and B2B marketers are seeing real engagement, real success, and with e-commerce, real dollars using TikTok as a mainstream platform. You'll also remember back in the spring, I actually spared you reading the bill and outlined what I thought was really going on with this bill. And I've got to say that the media, they're again not really communicating what's going on clearly here. So regardless of whether you love the idea of a ban or hate the idea of a ban, all these news articles that make it sound like January 19th is some sort of weird line in the sand after which all access to the network will somehow be blocked is just simply not actually going to happen. So the January 19th date comes from the fact that the company had 270 days from the time that the bill was signed into law by President Biden, which he did on March 24th, to the test time to actually figure out who they were going to divest themselves of. Now, even as we speak here, the TikTok has filed an emergency injunction to stop that ban from taking effect in January. But honestly, this was always going to be how it was going to be, even without the now interesting wrinkle that President Trump, who has now come out against the bill and is now for the bill or against the ban or for the ban, we don't really know. He'll literally take office the day after the ban is going to go into effect. I mean, you talk about weird timing here. So I said back in March that TikTok was in little danger of going anywhere, and I still believe that. Whether it's getting a stay for that January 19th date, which they will almost for sure get. I mean, even just because there's no way that the U.S. infrastructure is ready to block that site in reality, things like the iTunes store or Google Android store or anything like that. Or whether Trump gives them a stay of execution as one of the first things he does before ordering dinner on the night of his swearing in, or whether it goes to the Supreme Court, or whether President Trump just decides, yeah, the ban is there, but I'm not going to enforce it. That, by the way, he has to do that. He has to enforce it. this is unlikely to have any kind of conclusion in the next few months. So if you're thinking of how you're going to pivot out of TikTok or considering pivoting in, you might just want to take a breath. If you're not in already, well, maybe give it a couple of weeks. You'll probably have some better information about its future. And if you're thinking of pivoting out of TikTok, whether you're a creator or a marketer, give it a few weeks, I think. I think you're going to be just fine. And that's a very few short minutes of what's new in marketing. And if we can help you think through some of these issues, reach out, won't you? We can help. In the meantime, remember, it's your story. Take that risk and maybe put it on TikTok. And then make sure you put it and tell it well. I'll see you next week.